pretty.
This is the oldest town in North Carolina. This small town of Bath was the very first capital of North Carolina back in the colonial days. When the government moved away, everything kind of just dwindled away here in Bath. It's still a very small town.
This place is like a movie set. It's so pretty. It's so idyllic. I'm in love.
During the time when this was the capital is when Blackbeard lived here, and many say that he was in cahoots with the government, and that's the reason why nothing ever happened to him. And they called on the state of Virginia to come down and take care of their pirate problem, and that's when Maynard came down and took care of Blackbeard. Yeah.
We'll just say it like that.
We'll just say it like that. Now the thing is that if you keep going right out that way, you can get to Ocracoke.
So we've just made it. We're so far away, but we've just made a huge half circle.
Yeah.
In a way.
I mean, like if we had a boat, we could get to Ocracoke faster than we could ever get in the car.
Though the town of Bath and Ocracoke Island are very far apart, they will always be connected by the Legend of Blackbeard. One of the reasons why it's so hard to get a car to the Ocracoke Island is because you can only access it by ferry, which is what Lisa and I did on our last trip to the Outer Banks. Even though Ocracoke is not very far from Hatteras Island, the ferry boats have to take a long detour around the many sandbars. That's why the trip takes usually around 45 minutes to an hour. There's only one town on the entire island, and it's completely on the other side of the island from where the ferry dock is. It is right off the shores of Ocracoke that the legendary pirate known as Blackbeard met his doom at the hand of Captain Maynard, who chopped off his head and hung it from the bow of his ship. There are quite a few shops and restaurants on the island, and you can tour the Ocracoke Lighthouse, which is the smallest of the chain of lighthouses in North Carolina.
Edward Teach, also known as Blackbeard, lived here in Bath for a long time. He had been given a complete pardon, but he decided to turn back to piracy because of his extravagant lifestyle. And right when he returned back to piracy is when he lost his head. Blackbeard many times was said to be like the devil incarnate. He was a very scary character, but somehow he managed to charm 14 women at different times to actually marry him, and he married his final wife right here in Bath.
Many people have searched for the lost treasure of Blackbeard, including Josh Gates from the show Expedition Unknown on the Discovery Channel. But when people say that the lost treasure of Blackbeard is here in the town of Bath, they don't mean in some treasure chest. They mean in the town itself, where Edward Teach spent most of his money. Though Blackbeard was highly feared out on the sea, to the town of Bath he was more of a Robin Hood of sorts. who would steal from the crooked rich merchants and sell at a much more reasonable price. Many historical buildings and houses that date back to that time period are still standing today in the town of Bath.
Oldest town in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Still a small town.
So beautiful. We've stumbled onto a family graveyard and we were just marveling at how short some of these people's lives were. I know that we learned at the visitor center there were a couple of different outbreaks of yellow fever, so I'm assuming that may be what killed some of these people. But they have a whole family graveyard right behind the house.
Next, we were able to tour the oldest church building in North Carolina. They still hold services in this church even today. One interesting thing I found out about this church is that there are former members buried right within the floor of the church. I've heard of skeletons in a closet, but this church has skeletons in the floor. This was actually a common practice during colonial times. With so many stories being told about the legendary pirate Blackbeard, it's hard to separate the facts from the fiction. Blackbeard has often been portrayed as an evil, murderous man, but the truth of the matter is, there's no record that he ever murdered anyone. It turns out that Edward Teach was more of an actor than a murderer. He would often use these scare tactics to get people to surrender their ships without even firing a single shot. The more we learn about Edward Teach, otherwise known as Blackbeard, the less evil he really appears to be.
He's a pirate and a good man.
Like many other pirates, Edward Teach started out as a sailor in the British Royal Navy. But when the war with Spain ended and privateering became illegal, many of the sailors ended up becoming pirates out of rebellion against the British government. The simple fact that he named his ship Queen Anne's Revenge shows that his piracy was more politically motivated than greed motivated. There was once where he overtook a ship full of the British elite and held them hostage in exchange for a ransom, which sounds really bad at first until you realize what he asked for as a ransom. He didn't ask for gold or silver or treasure, but he asked for medicine, a shipload of medicine. Now, what would a pirate need a shipload of medicine for, unless it was to make it available to the poorer people that otherwise could not have afforded it? When he received his ransom, he let all the hostages go without harming a single one of them, though they did have to leave some of their treasures behind. There are many that believe that the beheading of Blackbeard was an unjustified act by Lieutenant Maynard. When the news of what had happened reached the town of Bath, there was great sadness in the streets instead of great joy. So was the death of Blackbeard the end of a horrible criminal? Or the death of a hero who stood up for the poor? I guess we'll never know. There's a lot more to the town of Bath than just the legend of Blackbeard. There are many craft and antique gift shops where you're sure to find something that's one of a kind.
Not exactly a camper, but it fits.
Bonner's Point is a beautiful waterfront park and a great place to have a picnic. And if you happen to get hungry, there's a couple of places that I highly recommend. One place is Blackbeard's Tavern, with its indoor and outdoor dining and its wide variety of menu items. The other place is Quarterdeck, the all-in-one dockside service station restaurant where you can get a shrimp burger and have a beautiful dockside view.
Part of the fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you can pull up in your boat and eat
That's so cool.
and get gas.
There's even a tiny house that you can rent right on the waterfront right next to Quarterdeck for a short stay on Airbnb. Not far from the town of Bath is the Goose Creek State Park, which has just recently added full hookup RV sites to the campground. So whether you come for the amazing history, the sheer beauty, or the awesome food, the town of Bath is definitely worth your time. If you liked the video, please give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on our future episodes. Stay tuned for bloopers, and until next time, happy camping.
Look at this.
Babe.
What? Dramatic effect.
Don't sing, but they say the acoustics are wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, definitely nice. Family graveyard.